Welcome back to the channel everyone. So in our today's video we will discuss about encapsulation in Java. Okay, so let's begin. First of all, what is encapsulation? So encapsulation means wrapping data into a single unit. Okay, this is the definition of encapsulation. So let me show you an example now. So as you can see, I have a class encapsulation which contains the main method. So let's create another class here which is employee class. Okay, say for example we have a employee class here. Okay, so now employee have which attributes? So employee can have employee id and employee name, right? So let's create two variable here, integer eid for employee id and string name for name of the employee. Okay, so now if I want to initialize these variables, now this variable contains data, right? This variable is also known as data members because it contains data. So if I want to initialize this variable, what I have to do, what we generally do, we create object of that class and then using that object we initialize that variables. Okay, so for example id is 101 and name is Manish. Okay, so this is how we initialize, and if we want to print it, then we write system.out.println and the name of the variables, right? For example e.eid and plus tab 4 so that you can see the clear output. Okay, so now done. We generally do these kind of things when we want to initialize the variable. What we do, we use the object of that class to initialize that variables directly, right? And then we print like this. Now if I run this program, as you can see it prints 101 is the employee id and Manish is the name, right? But this is not the right way to do it. This is another way, which is encapsulation, to initialize the variables. Okay, so let's remove these lines now. Now what encapsulation says, that you have to remember two things. In encapsulation we have two things, getters and setters. Now what is this getters and setters? Getters is the method used to get the value and setters is the methods used to set the value or used to set the data. Okay, these are our variables, which is nothing but our data. So we can set this data using setter methods. How? So to set a data we can write void set eid. First of all we set eid. Okay, and because we are setting the eid which is integer type, so we have to take integer argument here. Okay, so here we can say integer e for employee id, and how we get it, so we have to write eid equals to e. Okay, so this is how we get the value for that variable, or this is how we get the data. So this is the setter method. Okay, and another setter method we have to create is set name, and name is of string type, so we have to name string n. Okay, and for name, and we have to write name equals to n. Done. So this is how we get the values, sorry, this is how we set the values. Okay, now to get the values we have to use the getter methods. Okay, so how can we use? So first we have to write here integer return type, because eid employee id is of integer type, that's why we have to write integer return type, and then we can say get eid here, and here we can return eid. Okay, so it returns the employee id, and we have to create another method which returns name. So get name, and from this method we can return name. Done, our work is done. But now we have to call that methods. So how can we call it? First we call e dot set eid, and within this we have to pass arguments, and eid take integer type argument, as you can see here, right? So we have to pass integer type arguments. So let's say 101 is the employee id, and then we have to call set name method, and within this parenthesis we have to pass argument of string type, for example Manish again. Okay, so this is how we can set the values. Now value is set, now we have to get the values, we want to get the values. So how can we get that? We can write system.out.println, and within that the methods. So e dot get eid. Okay, here we call the method e dot get eid, and also slash t, and also name. So get name. Now I have written this method within the system.out.println because this method has return types. Okay, it has integer return type and string return type. So we have to catch the value. So to catch value we have two ways. Either we can use the variables, or we can directly print that methods which returns some value. Okay, so this is how we can write the program. So now if I run this program, as you can see, we got the correct output. 101 is the employee ID and Manish is the employee name. So this is how we can use the encapsulation. But you have to remember one thing, that when you are using the encapsulation, you have to make this variable private, because this is the purpose of encapsulation, that binds a data into a single unit. Okay, here as you can see, we are binding these two data, which is employee ID and name, into our method. We are binding this data into method. Okay, so this is the concept of encapsulation. So when you are using the encapsulation, make sure that make this variable private. Okay, and now we run this program. Okay, as you can see, we got the correct output. And let me show you why we have to write private here. If we write private here, and now if I try to initialize that variable here, e.eid equals to 100, for example, and if I run this program now, so as you can see, it throws an error, right? eid has a private access in employee. As you can see, this error, and that's why we are using the concept of encapsulation for security purpose. Okay, so whenever you are using the encapsulation, make sure that make your data members or variables as private. Okay, and when you are specifying the variable as private, it improves the security, and the main purpose of encapsulation is security. So this is how we can use the encapsulation. Okay, so if you have any doubts or query, you can ask me in the comment section below. If you do like the video, please hit the like button and please subscribe to our channel. Stay tuned. Thank you.